Ladies and gentlemen,
boys and girls,
young lads and ladettes. I just made that up. The Mo and Joe Show is back.
Bringing this podcast back has been, taken in a lot of consideration.
Mhm.
First off, I know nobody knows this, but this is our 50th episode, starting, season 2,
50, give
season
it up
3,
for that.
however you want to think about it. But this is a huge step for us getting this thing going again.
Mhm.
Our kind of format is to drop every other Friday. So we want to kind of stay to that schedule there. But we are very excited to bring this thing back.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of give a brief update on kind of where we're at right now in life before we start getting into the podcast. But this is just a really good start.
Yeah, so it's been a drought, and we've had people asking us, "Are y'all ever going to do the pod again? Are y'all ever going to bring it back?" I've had Elliot in my ear. We got to bring the pod back for a while now.
Yeah, I've had students in my ear. And I guess we can go ahead and talk about just kind of where we're at.
In
but
life.
There's just been a lot of chirping.
A lot of chirping. Yeah. So anyway, I have been in the middle of probably the busiest year of my life. Just a lot of stuff going on right now. But somehow in the middle of all this, Elliot was like, we should do the pod again, and kind of wrangled me into it. And then I was like, you know what? We could bring it back. So like he mentioned, every 2 weeks is the plan right now. It's going to be a similar format to before, but we're going to try to focus in on clips and stuff like that as well, kind of chopping some long form stuff up. And then, as always, you can expect us, and if you haven't listened to us before, you can expect us to talk about music, movies, culture, sports, stuff like that, stuff that we love to just sit around and talk about. A lot of times, the original idea for this podcast really just came from a lot of our real conversations in real life. We just sit and talk about movies for an hour for no good reason, and everyone else around us didn't really get it. But we were like, hey, we should start a podcast. So it's kind of going back to the roots there of what we're looking to do and continue to do. And so that's kind of a little bit about what you can expect for us coming back. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just hop into our first segment, Mo. So starting things off, we are in the middle of spooky season. Whenever you see this, it's probably going to be a little, little chilly, a little cold wherever you're at. That fall atmosphere. It's a good time to talk some horror. So we are going to go ahead. What was that? Was that stupid?
No, it wasn't stupid at all.
Okay. So we have done a top 10 horror movies ranking before, probably 2 or 3 years ago, but we're going to give an updated 2023 top 10 horror movies of all time. So, Mo, go ahead and get us started, brother.
I was very hesitant back and forth. So this one, honestly, I could throw one like right behind each other. It kind of goes back and forth. So I'm just going to say both of them. But right now, I'm just going to put Quiet Place Part 2 down as number 10. Right. But I'm also going to put Invisible Man kind of like neck and neck with 10 and 11. Both are just amazing movies, specifically for Quiet Place Part 2. The similar theater experience, just it's dead quiet for most of the movie, but you can hear the noise, not just in the movie, but also in the theater. I think everyone, like acting wise, did an amazing job, and I thought John Krasinski played a huge role, even though in the first one, what had happened in those events, you wouldn't have thought he would have had as much of a role, but he still did. And then, Emily Blunt obviously did an amazing job with her role in the kids, and I just think it's one of those rare sequels that really stepped it up. And I still think there's a part 3 to come. So I'm really looking forward to that.
So that's your 10 and 9?
10 and 11.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was very back and forth. I couldn't decide. But. My
number 10 is Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason Lives. This is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. Part 6, I think, just nails the funny and the goofy and embracing that the franchise has kind of always had, because a lot of the other ones play it more serious. but this one just embraces kind of the meta-ness, very, very pre-Scream sort of thing going on there. And then even just bringing in the Jason in this movie is amazing. It's one of the best versions of Jason. He goes full on John Wick at times, and I absolutely love it. You've seen this one, right? I think I showed it to you.
Yeah.
Where it's got the 007 intro.
Yeah.
That's incredible as well. But yeah, great Friday the 13th movie if you're into that type of thing. And my number 10, Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives.
My number 9 is what actually it was kind of my brief introduction to horror movies and why I actually wanted to stay away from horror movies for a while. So I had to put it on this list, and that's Insidious, the very first Insidious. This did so much for me as a horror movie fan, as it was so scary at the time. I didn't want to watch scary movies for another 4 years. It gave me an intro of Darth Maul. Which if anyone has seen the movie before, they know what I'm talking about. But this movie had so many good scares. It really, like I said, it's what made me scared of scary movies. And if a movie can do that, obviously that's a huge win. I mean, yes, I was younger, so props to you for scaring the bejeebers out of me. But it's such a good movie. I can go back and watch it now without being as scared as I was. Towards the end, it can get a little flaky. They definitely ran out of money towards the end, but like the 75 to 80% of the movie was so well done and well constructed. And yeah, I just absolutely love that movie. It scared me to death when I was young.
Love it. Awesome. Number 9 is the original Nightmare on Elm Street for me. Freddy Krueger is one of the ultimate horror villains, in my opinion. There's so many characteristics about him that make him not only terrifying, but also really intriguing as a character. And he's also super charismatic. So it just makes for this great mix, similar to other horror icons where, you're not rooting for them, but you kind of like them in a little way, just because even though they're doing this terrible stuff, they're just so charismatic and likable. And I think Freddy's that way, his one-liners and all those kind of stuff. And I think really at the heart of this isn't just a great performance from Robert Englund as Freddy, but really just a great story all around that really brings the original together. And so it is a all-time classic for a reason. It's my number 9 for a favorite horror movie of all time.
My number 8 is Nightmare on Elm Street, the original.
Okay.
So we had ours in the same ballpark. It's so unique. It stands out. There's no escaping Freddy, which makes it even scarier. Like, how can you not go to sleep?
Yeah.
So being scared to go to sleep can really freaks people out. And I know some people back in this time, like, we're probably watching this and being like, I don't want to go to sleep. Yeah. And even if you're watching it, I think this holds really, really well.
Yeah.
This is something that you can go back to and watch even today, and kind of still honestly get a little freaked out. And it's such a classic horror movie for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Number 8 for me, I got the original Alien. This movie, man, it is another one that just holds up so well. It's such a simple story, but it really does a great job of driving home paranoia. And I'm someone I'm a sci-fi guy as well. So when you bring in a cool alien creature with the xenomorph and just a really interesting set of characters as well. You've got Ripley, one of the most iconic heroes of all time, in my opinion. And Ridley Scott, all-time great director. There's also a few twists and turns that are unexpected here, that are great. But yeah, the original Alien, another fantastic classic horror movie that holds up. And it's my number 8. I really love it.
My number 7 is another kind of somewhat recent one. It's Annabelle Creation. The reason this one's so high on my list is because it's rewatchable, very rewatchable for me. This one came in pure shock. I wasn't expecting the movie to be that good. The jump scares were great, but it wasn't even the jump scares, because sometimes jump scares, in my opinion, can be cheap. Not well earned.
Right.
Some of the eerie facts about what happened in this movie is what really brings it to a whole other scale. Just about how Annabelle kind of like was brought into this doll, and then just some of the scenes were straight out of like a haunted house. I remember some scenes like it had to do in a barn. It just reminds me of going to like a haunted house, and there was like all these like random like scarecrows, something that you might have gotten scared of as a kid. It like turns to life, and like all these things getting brought to life, I thought was played out so well, and a lot of like, you know, there's some humor in the mix, but like again, as it comes to a horror movie, like there was no weak parts in that movie, in my opinion, and I think it earned the jump scares. It earned certain things in the movie.
My number 7, I got The Invisible Man.
Ooh,
You put it right outside your top 10. I had no idea it was going to be as good as it was, but it was absolutely incredible. It's one that really does a great job of having a social message that's baked into the story and is not beating you over the head, but really just does it in a way that works.
Yeah.
It plays on a lot of things. I think there's some great jump scares in it. There's some great just thriller moments of tension. And then in the back half, you get some borderline action moments like chase scenes and stuff like that are very just edge of your seat, fun, entertaining. Elizabeth Moss, she is fantastic as the lead. I feel like I've never really seen her anything that was bad.
Yeah.
Like I feel like she always does a great job as an actress. This is one that if you have not seen, is a must watch. That was my number 7. So The Invisible Man 2020.
Okay, so my number 6 is the first Conjuring. Ed and Lorraine have kind of been kind of home base when I think about newer horror movies that have come out that have been pretty consistent. I think the Conjuring universe movies, that there are a few hiccups and some mess ups, but for the most part, I do think whenever Ed and Lorraine is in the movie, I think they do a pretty good job. And again, watching this for the first time, it scared me a little bit, but then, you know, rewatchable, I started to really get into horror movies when The Conjuring first came out. It made me a fan of horror movies, and some of the jump scares, you know, hide and clap. There's a really great scene that's very memorable where, you know, the little girl is wanting to play hide and clap, and, you know, the mom's like got a matchbox and she's trying to light a fire. When she does, like, you know, someone's clapping right by her face, and that's the only thing you see. And just really cool scares the way they do it, and the story's really good too, so that's why it's up there for me.
All right, nice. My number 6, I got A Quiet Place Part 2. It is so effective at what it's going for. I think it takes everything that is good in the first one and just elevates it on a story level, on a suspense level. Really just the use of sound in this movie is incredible. You know, you got Emily Blunt who carries this movie on her shoulders as the mother and does an absolute incredible job. Also, the kids carry this movie as well, particularly the deaf girl. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she is phenomenal in the film. And then you got a great kind of side performance from Cillian Murphy. Yeah,
Oppenheimer himself.
Yeah. He does a great job here. So this is one that is just such a memorable theater experience, and one that I'll never forget. Certain sequences really just stick with you in this movie, and this is a modern classic in my opinion, and is even better than the original one. So
next on my list, number 5 is the original Halloween. This one to me is another one of those classic horror movies that you just have to watch on Halloween or during Halloween season, spooky season. Michael Myers is one of the most memorable villains out there in the horror franchise. I mean, I've got my own Michael. I bought my own Michael Myers costume.
I haven't
got to see it. I've got my Michael Myers costume out. Gonna rock that sometime soon. But just so memorable. I've seen videos of clips of people kind of making fun of, kind of in a funny way, where it's just like, what does Michael do behind the camera? Because he's gonna have to run at some point. I mean, the dude walks the whole time with a knife. How does he catch up to everyone he kills?
Right.
But it's just so memorable. Obviously, the kills are really good for that age. Obviously, it started a whole franchise that's even bled into this year or this past year. I do want to just briefly give Halloween, the original Halloween, its flowers. There are other great Halloween movies out there, but this one to me stood out the most. It's hard to beat the original, in my opinion, for Halloween. But yeah, I just think it's classic. It's got the Halloween vibes in it. And these slashers. So
Mike's right behind you, by the way.
What'd you say?
Mike's right behind you, by the way.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I forgot that. He's right there.
Yeah.
But I just don't have much else to say other than it's just a classic, and I go back and watch it every Halloween season. It's just such a classic.
Yeah. Love it. Number 5 for me. We're in the top 5 now, baby. Then this might be a shocker to some. This is a controversial movie, but it's one that I love. Us, the Jordan Peele movie. It's such a unique experience in that it kind of switches genres throughout. So it starts out as kind of a home invasion story, and then you got stuff in the middle that's slasher-esque almost, and then you also got kind of all throughout elements of like psychological terror going on, and almost a mystery of what's really going on with this story, and what's kind of below the surface. So it's a great mix of a lot of different kind of subgenres within horror, and it's blended seamlessly. And this is my personal favorite Jordan Peele movie thus far. I know people love the original Get Out. That is in my, I want to say top 15. The message of the movie is so powerful as well. It's one that I think that's part of why it's controversial, is because for some people, they don't really feel like the message makes sense by the end of it. Personally, I see exactly what he was going for. And though you can maybe argue the execution wasn't perfect at all times, I think for me, it works extremely well. And yeah, it's just one that the more I kind of sat on it, the more I've watched it over again over the years since it came out. I really think it's a phenomenal horror movie. And it's my number 5 on my list.
My number 4 is the Conjuring 2. This one stands out
over the original.
Yes.
Interesting.
So this is why I put it over the original. It has an edge because of the nun. This kind of first introed the nun, and I just fell in love with the character. But it also, it's got its Christmas theme, for all you Christmas lovers up there. It's Christmas themed. It's got a lot of
Christmas theme
in there. What?
It takes place during the winter, but it doesn't have a Christmas theme.
Yeah, it does. They celebrate Christmas in there. They have a Christmas tree. They're decorating Christmas tree. Then
okay,
they got Christmas music playing. Yeah. It's got a lot of memorable scenes. It's got an old man who can't get out of his chair, and so that's awesome. You got the nun in there. Ed and Lorraine have their classic, love / we got to make through this. Like, this is why we're together type moments. It's an easier one to go back to, in my opinion, than the first Conjuring. I understand everyone's case that they think the original is better. And I totally understand it, but I like the second one a little bit more. So I just have a great time with it. That's my number 4.
Okay. My number 4, 2017, It. With Pennywise.
Oh no.
This one, you're saying, oh no, like top 5 still bad.
Oh no, it's not bad at all. I'm just interested to hear.
But yeah, so this is one that is all time for me, just because, it was such a cultural moment when it came out. I think, I don't know if anybody remembers, but in 2017, clowns started popping up because of this movie directly, which is sketchy and weird, but kind of a moment in that way. Also, I have a ton of memories of watching this movie with friends when it came out, getting into even just the movie itself. Everything regarding Pennywise, I think, is absolutely fantastic in this movie. Bill Skarsgård gives a career-defining performance, and the characters of the Losers Club, really great character dynamics, and you feel like these kids are genuinely friends. Very similar to Stranger Things. Stranger Things was already out at the time, so you can definitely see the influence of the two kind of on each other. Even having Finn Wolfhard in there kind of takes what some of what the TV miniseries does, which has its own classic moments and classic Pennywise with Tim Curry and moments in its own right. And I think the 2017 just kind of elevates the material and brings it to a modern audience in a great way. And so, yeah, 2017, it all time for me, number 4. Mo, what you got for top 3?
My number 3, and this might shock you, but it is up there for a huge reason. And then I personally think it's such a good horror movie. I haven't gone back to it as much,
Okay.
but that's because I haven't had a lot of people that want to watch it with me. It's Sinister. I don't think I gave enough respect for it the first couple times I've seen it. It is genuinely scary. It has got some horrifying, aspects of the movie. But it's got such a great, a great eerie story to it. That is dark, but some horror movies obviously need to get there, with its story and stuff like that to really, get a scare from someone. And the villain, I keep forgetting his name, but
I don't know if he has a name.
I don't really I think he has a name,
kind of
but he is. I mean, he is scary, and I love it. He pops up. There's a lot of good jump scares, not just cheap jump scares. Man, I mean, it is definitely super eerie and very scary, but in a lot of good ways. The story's just outrageous, and it's consistently been up there for a lot of people's top horror movies. It's up there for me because how scary it is and how well it executes its stuff. And then obviously I really do enjoy it too. That's my number 3.
Number 3 for me, Scream. It does such an incredible job of just the meta commentary and playing on the tropes of a horror movie while still living in that. It's making fun in a lot of ways of the genre and being the super self-aware movie while also being what it's describing, and in a weird way that just works so incredibly well. And then you got Sidney Prescott, arguably, in my opinion, the greatest final girl of all time. And honestly, just one of the best horror characters, period. She is so just likable and memorable. And I mean, you really want to see her win and survive and beat Ghostface. And Neve Campbell, obviously unbelievable performances throughout all the movies, really. But yeah, this is one that just, I think, is generally one of the best made horror movies of all time, as well as one of my all-time favorites. So number 3, the original Scream. Mo, what you got top 2?
My number 2 is the original Scream.
Okay.
For, again, a lot of the similar reasons as Joe. I think this is one of the best to ever exist out there. It ages extremely well. And it's just, I rewatch it every year, maybe even twice. It's so good. The story itself is awesome. The actors are amazing. Shout out to Shaggy. If you know what I'm talking about, Shaggy. Why am I drawing a blank on his name?
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard. Yeah, Matthew Lillard puts on an amazing performance. It's honestly kind of scary how good of a performance he puts on. And then Sidney Campbell.
You messed the real actor's name.
Yeah,
Neve Campbell and Sidney Prescott.
Neve Campbell plays Sidney Prescott. Look at me go. But she's awesome. Again, we are all kind of rooting for her on the end. And hey, shout out to Drew Barrymore. She's posted literally on the front of every screen. But no spoilers there. But again, awesome movie. I won't say much because he already said it. Scream is just an amazing movie.
My number 2, OG Halloween. It was your number 5 for me. This is, the theme music is absolutely one of the greatest theme songs in all of movies, in my opinion. And what John Carpenter was able to do with this movie was so revolutionary, and so influential. I mean, Halloween is probably debatably the most influential horror movie. At least it's in the conversation. When you consider the time that it was made and really just how simple the story is, I think it just works on every level. I mean, you said a lot of the things I would say as far as Michael Myers being an icon and all these great things. And I mean, obviously kicking off Jamie Lee Curtis's career with this movie. Career-defining performance that she's come back to so many times to play Laurie Strode. But yeah, this is just one that I watch every year now since I watched it for the first time. And it is just so classic. So yeah, number 2, original Halloween. Mo, what you got for number 1?
My number 1 is It. It is the one scary movie, horror movie that brought me back into the theaters to watch a scary movie. When I watched the TV series, my mom was terrified of it, and I watched it and I was terrified of clowns. But then
Did she watch it like when she was younger?
Yes.
Okay.
And she had it on TV one time, and she it was like kind of one of those things where like you like it, but you're scared of it so much.
Yeah.
And she was watching it, and I watched it, and I had nightmares.
When you were a kid?
When I was a kid. I was so petrified of scary movies, especially clowns. But it wasn't until Stephen King kind of, his book came into the big screen, and the newer version of it came out, and I instantly fell in love through the first preview and the first trailer. Pennywise just embodies a lot of what I think about when I think of the horror genre. Whether that is the TV series, which I do love, but just what Skarsgård is able to do with, he's just having so much fun, and the kids are one of the best. Like, they put on the best child acting performance that I've seen in a long, long time. They all put in a great performance. It's very rewatchable in my opinion. And it's just a fun movie. Like, I have a lot of fun with it. So that is why it's my number 1.
Definitely love it, and it's right there, obviously, for me being in top 5. And I'll be honest, a lot of the ones in my top 5 are like, particularly the top 4, are like, those are pretty cemented. Like The Shining. Well, there's not number 1.
There's your number 1. The Shining.
I didn't mean to say that. We'll get into that. But my number 1, The Shining, Halloween, Scream, and what was our number 4? It. Yeah, I was just mentioning. Those 4 I don't really see changing, to be honest with you. But The Shining is my number 1.
Really?
This one is not, I'll say this, it is not as rewatchable for me as my other ones in my top 5 and probably in my top 10. But I think it just, in my opinion, is kind of a masterpiece. Really, I think what makes this number 1 for me is it is a thought-provoking movie. It is one where you are horrified while at the same time it makes you really reflect on a lot of things, at least for me personally. Because it's really kind of one of those, just the story as a whole, whether you're talking about the book or the Stanley Kubrick movie, which are different in a lot of ways, but they really both, I think, tap into like isolationism and what that can do to a person. And obviously it's a movie, so stuff's exaggerated. It's not necessarily realistic at all times, but it is very horrifying and very just a great cautionary tale about what how things can go to an extreme point of when you're isolated and all of that. So it's just one that I think begs to have multiple viewings and ask deeper questions when you're watching it or after watching it. And it's one that just really sticks with me every time I've seen it. And I think Jack Nicholson as well gives it an all-time career great performance. I mean, Jack Nicholson is one of the great actors of all time, obviously. But here, he gives such a standout performance. And yeah, this is just such a great movie in every way, and one that sticks with you and one that is truly scary as well, and holds up, in my opinion, very, very well. So number 1 all time, the original Shining.
So that excludes our top 10 horror movies up to date, because sometimes obviously they'll have a change to it. So we're going to kind of move on to kind of a new segment that we're still kind of trying to figure out a good name for, but it's called What's in Our Rotation. And
that's the working name.
That's the working name. It's not going to be the staple name right now. But
who knows? Maybe it'll stick.
maybe it'll stick again, like you said. But what is in our rotation? What does that mean, Elliot? That means what's in our rotation song wise. What are we listening to? What is sticking with us right now?
Yeah.
Like as of right now, what songs are we bopping to? What are we really enjoying right now? And there's going to be 5 songs that we're going to each list. We won't explain much. We're just kind of going to say like what's in our rotation right now and why is it standing out.
And this doesn't have to exclusively be new music.
No, yeah.
I mean,
this is
a good chance to talk about new music, but
Yeah.
it doesn't exclusively have to be new music. So.
exactly.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and start off?
Do you want to just do all 5, and then you do 5, or do you want to go back and forth?
We can go one each.
Okay.
We just don't have to go as in depth.
So, one of mine that's in rotation right now is "Better Place" by NSYNC / Justin Timberlake, even though Justin Timberlake's in NSYNC. NSYNC came back to put this song together for probably one of my most anticipated movies of the year, Trolls. So I'm really looking. It's called Band Together, I believe. Trolls Band Together. I'm really looking forward to this movie, and I'm saying that with a lot of sarcasm. But I do think Trolls tend to make pretty good soundtracks. So I'll be honest about that. And this song's just a bop. It's uplifting. It's like kind of a summer vibe, even though we're in the fall now, and I just really enjoy it. So
yeah. Love it. And NSYNC coming back together.
Yeah.
Great moment.
Band together.
I've definitely been.
They're bringing the band.
All right. Hey, Mr. Cheese. No, but I do like that song. I think it's a really good song, The Better Place joint. My one that I wanted to mention, I got Coco Jones' I See You. So I hadn't heard this song until the remix came out with Justin Timberlake. Which I think is phenomenal, and I've been playing that as well. But I was telling you earlier off mic, I think that low-key the original might be better than the remix. It's just such a phenomenal song, and Coco Jones vocally is one of the more exciting R&B acts right now, as far as someone to look out for in R&B music. So. Great song. Great one. I would highly recommend I See You, Coco Jones. And that's the letters I see you, not like with your eyes. Yeah.
Fascinating.
What else you got in your rotation, brother?
So I've got this is a plug for, we're not going to do a breakdown of it, at least for definitely not right now, but I'm going to say one of the songs that I think is my favorite off the album, which is Tried Our Best, off of For All the Dogs, off of Drake's new album. That's been in my rotation right now. His flow on that is what stands out to me, and the message of it. It's kind of sad, but it's really good. It's Drake really kind of getting into his feelings, which
he likes to do.
He likes to do that all the time. Heck, In My Feelings is an amazing song, going back to our good old high school days.
Mm-hmm.
But this song specifically stands out a lot just by his flow, like I said earlier, and again his message into it, and it's also pretty catchy. As sad of a song it is, I can still play it a lot. It's just such a really good song. So that to me is in my rotation.
All right, yeah, I'm rocking with it. I like that record for sure. Next one, I wanted to throw something from this Diddy album on here that I've really liked, because there's multiple songs I've been playing. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go Stay a While. So track 4.
That's a bop.
Diddy just dropped an album, the Love album, Off the Grid. Fantastic listen. If you have not heard this, I would 100% recommend checking it out.
It's bop.
And front to back, it plays really well, honestly. Like, there's not a lot of skips on it for me, and for a 20-plus track album, that's really impressive. So this one that I wanted to put in my rotation, Stay a While. It's Diddy and Nyjah. I've never heard her before this track
until now,
but she is an incredible vocalist, and honestly, I want to check her out because of this song. That. And this is just one that I've been vibing to a ton lately. This is a great song. That's Diddy and Nyjah, Stay a While. Check it out.
So my my third song that's on rotation is one of the many songs I love off this album. But it's called "What Took You So Long" by Dan and Shay. This song I think is my favorite off the album. If I were to pick one right now, I wouldn't say my favorite off the album, but off of the album cuts. The singles are amazing on this album, but this song has continued to get better and better the more I hear it. The message of it, it's just so simple and pure. Dan and Shay, they're going to tug on your heartstrings a little bit. They're going to make you want to marry, whoever you're with right now at that moment. But Dan and Shay have been one of my favorite country / pop artists. You kind of can mesh them together. But they definitely went back to their country roots with this album than last album, which I thought was very poppy. So this song is just such a good kind of love song. What took you so long, as in, what took you so long for you to get into my life, yada yada yada. I won't go into the lyrics of it, but it's such a really good song.
Just to make it interesting, I'm gonna throw something Dan and Shay in here too.
Neon Cowgirl.
Why'd you spoil the song?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just want to throw out a guess.
Yeah. So Dan and Shay. So I'm definitely a country fan. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Dan and Shay fan the way Mo is, but like they got a record on this new album called Neon Cowgirl that's fire. That's super fire and is super catchy. It's a little cheesy. Like the whole thing is cheesy. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I really like the track. It's one I've been going back to a lot and been in my rotation. So yeah, I ain't got much to say about it. It's a good song. It's a catchy song. It's a fun track. Neon Cowgirl, Dan and Shay. What else you got in your rotation?
What else I got? Well, I this one came out kind of late last summer or this summer. It's "Sign Me Up" by Post Malone. This song I continue to keep going back to for a reason. It is so catchy. It's such a fun song to play. And it's, catchy is just an easy way of putting it, but a lot of what Post Malone did in his last album really stood out to me. The fact that like he had no features on the album. I went to his most recent concert, and I really like his music. And this album was pretty. I really did enjoy this album, but this one's the one that really stood out to me.
Okay, nice. Do I want to include anything from For All the Dogs? I don't know if I do. Kind of conflicted. You know what? I'm gonna throw. So I'm not gonna throw For All the Dogs. I'm gonna throw. No, I got a track. Sorry, I got a track I'm gonna do before this one. This is a CHH track that a lot of people probably have not heard of that I'm gonna recommend. So I came across this. You know what? I don't even know how I came across it, but somehow I came across it. This is an artist named Toya Love that I've been playing lately. She's on the Reach Summer Project. It's her, Mission, and Childlike CC, who I've been a big fan of all those artists in different times. But they put out a single called High Speed. Really great single. Really fun record that is a super bop. Have you heard this one? Okay, I'll have to play it for you.
I heard it. Wait.
It's a super fun, catchy banger and one that I've been playing a good bit lately. And this is a fun one. High Speed, Toy Love.
So I'm gonna put a little plug in here real quickly, just because.
Are you on your fourth or fifth?
My fifth.
Okay.
My brother Joe here, he kind of shared me this treat very recently as a great spooky season song. I just want to throw this in here. Monster Mash Next Habit remix. And this song's just, if you're not into it, you're gonna think it's the cringiest thing ever. But I'm just throwing in that just because you just got to be in the mood for it.
All right, is that your fifth one?
No, it's not. I just wanted to say that real quick. But my fifth song in rotation is called Again. This song came out about a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Who's it by?
It's by Kirk Franklin, Chandler Moore, Tori Kelly.
Is it on the new Kirk Franklin album?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have not listened to it yet, but it's in my phone.
This is a very, very good song. It's a little lengthy and for a good reason. vocally, I mean, Chandler Moore is insane, and then you add in Tori Kelly's vocals, which I'm going to be outspoken, especially when we get into Christmas time. Tori Kelly's just got amazing vocals. She's one of my favorite female vocalists. But yeah, Kirk Franklin does an amazing job with this song, and he has a good album called Father's Day. But
I'll have to say, La Russell, an incredible artist that I've been listening to a lot lately. He's got a record I'll shout out. There's a few different ones I could shout out. I'm gonna shout out this one. It's called. He just dropped it back in August. The song's called Charcuteries. So like the charcuterie board, and he is. It's a kind of a slower track, but what he's saying in the track I think is great. And his rapping is just such a specific sound that I really love. A little bit slower, like more enunciated, but he also has a lot of fun with his raps. But then it's interesting because he'll be having fun, but then he'll have a lot of real stuff to say.
Yeah.
So he's a dude that definitely I would recommend looking out for. And that record's called Charcuteries. So that's Lil Russell. Shout out to him.
So yeah, that is what's in our rotation. What's in yours? Okay.
Alrighty, so moving right along, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of sports talk. So, Mo, obviously we're in the middle of the NFL season. I don't know if you want to start with fantasy or just talk about the Colts a little bit, or wherever you kind of want to go there. I'll let you drive, brother. But how are we feeling about the Colts right now?
I think the Colts season was a little bit up in the air. I was a little skeptical about it. Then I saw them play, and I saw Anthony Richardson play, and I was like, okay, this looks fun. Mm-hmm. I haven't been this excited for a season in a while. Sorry, Matt Ryan. Sorry, Carson Wentz. And even sorry, Phillip Rivers. Even though Phillip Rivers did bring us to a wild card spot in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So this year is just going to be a wild card. I really don't know. We're 3-3 right now, and I don't know where this season's going to go. We have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. I think we can beat the Browns. I do think we can. I don't think the Browns are that good, especially on offense. Their defense is what's really good. I'm worried about the defense. But we have two players, okay? Their names are Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor. These two guys need to run the ball. If they don't run the ball, we will lose the game. If we rely on Gardner Minshew...
You say that again. Yeah.
If I like Gardner Minshew Mania, man, I love the stash. Hey, I had to bring my own stash as well. It's not nearly as good as Gardner's. Okay, listen, it's a new thing, but listen, I love Gardner Minshew. I love him to death. He's a good quarterback. He's a really good backup quarterback. But I'll be honest, you make it where Gardner Minshew has to win the game. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. We tried that against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we lost. It was a bad game. Gardner Minshew threw for over 300 yards, but that came with 3 picks and a fumble. So if that's what it's to look forward to, if Gardner Minshew's just throwing the ball constantly, and by the way, he can't throw a deep ball, and that's just his skill set. He cannot throw a deep ball. He's very consistent. Okay. And yet last week he was consistent throwing a pick. So what I'm really looking forward to is I need Gardner Minshew to be smart with the ball, which he usually is, which is surprising. He needs to be smart with the ball. He needs to, surprise the defense. You want to make sure you have a good, a balance of running and passing, but you got to run the dang ball a lot more than you did last week. Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss combined didn't he even have over 55 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Combined. They need to have 55, at least 55 each and more. Yeah. They're both amazing running backs. They can win you games. Both of them can. Not Gardner Minshew. I love Gardner Minshew. Anthony Richardson in the future, hopefully if he's not made of glass, okay? The dude's gotten injured every single game he's played in. And he's out for the season.
Which is tragic, by the way.
Because Anthony Richardson, I mean, he is an amazing person, as I've seen, and he's just a great role model for this program. And I cannot wait to see the things that he does here. He looks awesome. But man, he needs to learn how to slide. He needs to learn how to do a lot of things better when it comes to just keeping your body healthy. He's got amazing potential. But we got to be realistic. Right now, he's not playing for the rest of the season. What do? We have to trust in Gardner Minshew's completion percentage. Keep it high. Keep throwing, surprise the defense, but run the dang ball. That's what we're made to do.
Yep.
We've got a great offensive line.
Yep.
They've really stepped up this season, and our defense is actually really good. Our cornerbacks, our secondary isn't that strong this year. That's our other weakness right now. But we can win games because we have the very easy schedule. We could end up, and I'm not joking when I say this, we could end up 11-6. I think that's a very reasonable record because of the easy schedule we have. If we had games against the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the 49ers, yeah, I would say maybe a below not below 500 or something like that. But I genuinely, looking at the schedule, think we could be 10-7, 11-6, maybe even 9-8. I think we can squeak in the playoffs. So
yeah,
that's what's to look forward to with the Colts. But the Pacers, man,
yeah.
they're about ending up preseason here. They had one of their last games, preseason games at home. I am so looking forward to the Pacers. We've got a new roster here. We've got additions of Obi Toppin and Bruce Brown, who I think will bring a lot of explosiveness to this team. We're a very young team, but we've got some veterans in there too. Tyrese Halliburton is a dog. I can't wait to see what he does in his second year with the Pacers. I think we look like we can be a 50 or 50 plus win team. I think we can personally finish in the top 3 or 4 in the East. And
I'm not. I didn't say that,
and that's fine.
That.
That's fine. Joe and I both both have these conversations. I'm more optimistic. He's more realistic / pessimistic.
Realistic.
But I do have a lot of things to look forward to. We have a deeper team this year. We still have everyone back. We've got Buddy Hield, who led the league in 3-point shooting. And we also, again, we have Tyrese back. We've got a good depth. We've got Andrew Nembhard. Like I said, we've got Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, Jalen Smith. We've got a lot of great talent on this team, and I can't wait to see what we look like this year.
Listen,
go Pacers.
If they just get to the playoffs, I'll be happy. I think we got to just start there. I'm not. The reason I'm not gonna say top 4 is bro, there's still so many great teams in the East, and again, if we make it to the playoffs, I'm gonna consider that a success, even if we lose in the first round. That's just because the Pacers have been so up and down, and I don't want to say trash because we haven't been completely trash. We've had spurts of really good moments in the last few years. But
be careful what you say here, man.
But look, we haven't made it to the playoffs.
That is true.
Even though we've had great moments, we haven't made it to the playoffs. And so I think just starting with, hey, let's make it to the playoffs. Then, great. If they surprise me, then they surprise me. But yeah, either way, I'm with you though. I think the Pacers got a bright future. I think it's maybe going to take a little longer to get to where you're saying, because I think they still.
I'm not saying we're going to win.
They still need more pieces and / more development, of what they already got. With Tyrese, I think his potential is so high, and he is already great, but he still has a little bit of room to go until he's a full-on superstar. Do I think he can get there? Yeah, I do think he can get there. I think right now it's just he's not fully there yet. But he's on his way there for sure. So a lot of optimism to look forward to with the Pacers. But like I said, I think we just got to make the playoffs first. Did you want to cover anything that's not Indiana sports?
Yes, I do want to say one more thing.
Damian Giannis, what do we think?
What?
Damian Giannis, what do we think?
So I'm actually a pretty big fan of that trade for 2 of the teams. Kind of, it was a three team trade,
which was interesting.
It was interesting.
Drew Holiday to Boston, right?
Yeah, I think the Celtics look good. I think they look really good. I don't think they have as much depth because they lost that. They gave up some of their players. But I mean, think about it. You have Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis. I think those are already 4 players that can get you to a championship. I'm not saying they'll win, but I'm saying that is very good potential. And then you have good backup. You still have Derek White, who, by the way, he looked like a cartoon character with his hair. I mean, the dude had. I mean, I could could put my. I mean, he ended up shaving off his hair, and he looked very different as a player when I saw him out in the court. But they still have Derek White. They still have Pritchard out there.
Derek White is a hooper, though.
But Derek White's a hooper. He hooped. He did a really good job. He was a key player in the playoffs last year for the Celtics.
Oh yeah.
I think the Celtics could make some noise in the East again, as always. But I'm the Bucks. The Bucks, I think, are the team to beat right now in the East.
Oh yeah, no debate.
When you have the addition of Dame Dollar on your court with, I mean, they're one of the most likable teams too. It's really hard to hate on Dame, who's been one of the most loyal players in the NBA.
I can't blame him for the move.
I can't blame him either. What did Portland do for him?
They did nothing.
They did absolutely nothing. So, well, they actually did do something. They just did. But
well, yeah,
But what he has done for the NBA, I mean, I like his confidence, but he's also well spoken. He's not, he's cocky, but he's not too outspoken. He's just such a nice guy. I like Dame Dollar.
Yeah, and he's definitely probably the best basketball rapper out there that we've ever had.
Yeah, I mean,
he doesn't have much competition.
He doesn't have much.
Kobe put out a track back in the day.
I mean, when it comes to
put out a few albums.
When it comes out to R&B, I mean, Victor Oladipo's got that one in the bag.
Got that one on locks. But because Shaq rapped that. Low key though, if you go back and listen, Shaq could rap. He wasn't that bad. Before he was DJ Diesel, but
yeah.
But you got Shaq, you got Kobe, you got AI. I think put out a rap song back in the day, and then even like way back in the day, some of the like OGs, like I'm drawing a blank, but back in the 80s, there's a few basketball players from the 80s. I think maybe Dr. J put out a rap song one time. I'm not even joking.
Huh.
Like it sounds wild, but anyway,
yeah.
Dame is by far the best of any.
Dame, Giannis, and Chris Middleton. And then you got more pieces along there too, who I think are going to be very productive on the team. I just think it'll be fun to watch. And it'll be hard. It'll be hard to rank them any lower than a 2 in the East. I do think they'll be at the top, close with the Celtics, battling for those positions. The 76ers will be good. There's still controversy with the program, but again, like I said, I do think the Pacers can make a jump up into that top half of the East standings, maybe 5. I think a good group for them is 6-3, where they can possibly land in the East. And I'm just really
you're changing your tune a little bit. You said 3 or 4.
Well, my ceiling for them is 3. My floor is a 6.
So you're saying
I think they're going to make the playoffs regardless.
The Pacers would be up there with Boston and Milwaukee.
They're going to be a sleeper-ish team. I think the media is paying attention to them a little bit more.
Interesting.
But that is what I wanted to say for that. I also wanted to briefly talk about, and we'll give you a brief update when the next podcast comes through. But Joe and I are both in fantasy football, and this guy right here is struggling a bit. Chop you up.
I'm going to the trenches. I got chopped up. I got chopped up.
So, he's struggling a bit. I started out rough, really rough. But I picked it up the past few weeks. So this has been such a fun journey when it comes to fantasy. It's a hit or miss. You could have one player, who's projected to score 20 points, score 2 points. Had that happen before, or I've had a player that's projected to, win me a lot of fantasy games and end up breaking his leg in one of the games, Nick Chubb. Which rest up to Nick Chubb. I prayers up to him. I mean, Nick Chubb is one of the nicest guys out there in football. He's an amazing running back.
You know him personally?
Yeah, I've been to his house. Nick Chubb is just such a good guy. And there's not many good guys in Cleveland. But he was one of the
disrespected Cleveland
on the player side of things.
How do you know?
Deshaun Watson, Kareem Hunt.
You think they're bad guys?
No. They've just done bad things.
Well, yeah.
They've just done bad things.
Deshaun Watson one, yeah.
Big players.
Anyway,
that's besides the point. Nick Chubb is just such a great guy. I had him on my fantasy. He ended up having that knee injury, which took me out, and I was not looking good at fantasy. But then I picked up Raheem Mostert, and things have been looking great. Raheem Mostert is running back for the Miami Dolphins, and he has been killing it.
The Dolphins been going crazy.
The Dolphins have their offense is insane. So we'll kind of give you an update. Every once in a while. I'm 3-3 right now.
By the way, if you couldn't tell, we're recording this at night. I've been yawning a few times unintentionally. I do apologize.
Disappointing. But yeah. And then Chop You Up is 2-4. And then shout out to Ari.
And I'm 2-4 in multiple leagues. I'm going through and going through it right now. Hopefully, by the time people see this, I will have been 3-4.
Ari DeWitt still is 1-5. He's at the bottom of our standings. And at the top is sadly Luke Moritz at 5-1. So we have this. It's a very stiff competition in our group chat. And it'll continue to be really fun.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's what I want to say about fantasy.
There's been some players going off this year as well. Tyreek Hill has been
killing it for fantasy.
Unbelievable in fantasy. Because he just that dude knows how to get touchdowns. And one thing I realized about fantasy this year that I kind of forgot because I haven't done fantasy in some years is like how valuable touchdowns are.
Yep.
You could have not that many yards, but if you get multiple touchdowns,
oh, you're fine.
You're chill.
I'll give you a point in reference.
Are getting lots of points.
I have George Kittle on my team. He's absolutely probably done bare to nothing for me in my fantasy league. And George Kittle is an amazing tight end. But there's a lot of valued players on this 49ers team. But when I needed him the most, he had three receptions, only 3 receptions, but they were all 3 touchdowns. Didn't even have any more than, I think, 40 yards.
Wow.
But 3 touchdowns. Scored me 27.7 points.
That's crazy.
And then I had Raheem Mostert, like I said earlier. He scored me. He had 4 total touchdowns. He scored me 45 points. 44.4 points, I think. Absolutely insane. So if you have someone that can score touchdowns, it doesn't even matter the yardage. I mean, heck, someone can run. I've seen it. Someone can run for 115 yards and only give me like 10 points, like 10 to 12 points. If there's no touchdown added onto it, I mean, it really brings the weight down of the point system, especially for ESPN. I know other apps might weigh it differently, but I do know that that's how ESPN, or at least how our league has weighted.
Right.
So that's just you just got to score touchdowns. You got to pick a winning team. So I've got a pretty good team now. I think I've got some good depth.
Who's your defense?
My defense, I actually
Have you been
changed
changing
it.
them?
So I made a smart decision. So my defense was the Saints, and they just played terrible against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I did not start my Saints. I'm starting the Seattle Seahawks, who have stepped up their defense this year.
I've got Seahawks in one of my other leagues.
Yeah,
and I think I had them in my. I think I had them in our league, and then I dropped them. So.
Yeah, so I picked them up.
You're welcome.
The Seahawks are looking a lot better on the defensive end, and they play against the Arizona Cardinals, which I feel like should give me some points. So I'm looking forward to that. And I also, I picked up Swift, DeAndre Swift, for the Eagles, which I thought was a pretty good pickup for him still being available. Because again, I lost 2 of my running backs to injury, so that was really nice. I've got a couple good running backs. I've still got Stephon Diggs, who has been giving me a lot of points. So I have some pretty good players. My QB is Justin Herbert, and as he's been a little inconsistent so far this season, he's still given me like a minimum of 15 points. He hasn't
really good.
He hasn't done anything like bad where he hasn't given me enough fantasy points. He's been consistent between 15 and 25 points.
Okay.
Mic drop.
Yeah. It's been a fun year though, man. It's been really fun for fantasy football. And yeah, we're still early in the season. Like, I'm not saying, for me personally, like, my team is struggling enough where I'm like, oof, I just got to get out of the bottom. But like, it's still early on. There's still a lot that could happen. You never know with football. Like, injuries are so they happen so often that you just kind of never know what could happen with your
Yeah.
squad. And even just, players in teams being up and down. But that's what makes it fun each week. Watching the games and playing fantasy football. And that whole thing. So
Yeah.
yeah. Did you have any final last things you wanted to cover or talk about on the pod?
No, I just I want to wish everyone a happy spooky season.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to get this podcast back up and running. This has been something I've been really anticipating. And I'm just really looking forward to continuing this thing. Whether we are in person together or we're, at our separate bases. My home is right now currently up in Warsaw, like I said earlier. So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for the future of this podcast. And trick or treat.
Yeah. Like we said, every 2 weeks, every other Friday is when we're planning on dropping right now. We'll be recording just whenever we can, in our own time, pre-recording. And then we may go live some weeks if we decide to do it live. So just make sure you're following us on Instagram. That's kind of the main place where you can see all the updates regarding the pod, our Instagram page, and then YouTube and obviously, Spotify podcasts, Apple podcasts, all of that.
Yeah.
You can find us there.
At the Mo and Joe Show.
And yeah, and if you're interested in our merch as well, you can pick up some merch on our merch store. And you can find the links for all of this and the description of all these different things as well as of our Instagram. So yeah, with that being said, looking forward to another one here in the future. And thanks to everyone who listened. Have a great week. Peace.